Good morning. Happy Saturday, happy weekend. Woohoo. Get this good. I hope that lighting is good. I'm gonna give it just a few seconds, see if anybody comes on. We are making these today. These galvanized metal signs for probably a wedding or any kind of special event, really, because of course you have to have a cute sign on your gifts and cards table, right? So cute little sign's got a stand on the back so it can stand up nicely, and then also if you were going to make something on this that we wanted to hang on the wall, it can hang on the wall too. So if you jump on, say hi. If you know any DIY brides that would love to watch this, please feel free to share. Any DIY wedding groups or whatever, please feel free to share this into those groups. That would be awesome. And if you're watching the replay, still feel free to share this to anybody. I will get started and then I'll tell you more about that. So, okay. First I'm going to do the stenciled one because we're going to do two different ones. Hi, Jenny. We're going to do two different ones. So one is stenciled, so one is painted, and then this one is vinyl. So with both you can do whatever colors, what works with whatever you're doing, whatever event or whatever you want there, but two different ways of doing it. So we'll see if you like one better or whatever. So I'm going to start with the stencil. Hi, Gus. We're going to start with the stencil so that can dry, and then maybe we can actually peel it off and you can see it. Okay, so this is my first time working with printable vinyl. Anybody ever work with printable vinyl? It's pretty cool. I've had this like for a while now, and hi Lou. Sorry, so funny. I love it. Thank you guys for the support. So I've had this forever, never used it, and then I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, let's try and play with this. So this is printable vinyl, so cool. You print it on your printer, obviously, and then the Cricut cuts it out. So when you print it, it looks like this. And if you've never done any kind of print or cut with the Cricut, then you'll see it does this like black line, and as it goes into the Cricut, it senses these lines and then cuts the design exactly how you want it, which is super cool. So this one's already cut, and this is what we're going to use for the stencil, and this is also what we're going to use for the rose for the other one with the vinyl. So I wanted to show you what it looked like before I cut it, because this is cut with the bleed. So when I first printed something, I had no idea what that meant. So it asks you if you want to print it with the bleed or not. And so if you're printing something like this, then you will want to do the bleed, because as you see, if you can kind of see those cuts, what it'll do is it'll cut, and then you won't have any of that like white line around the edges. So it looks like flush and super like professional and gorgeous. So that's with the bleed. I'm going to send this one through the Cricut right now, so you'll hear it going, but I just wanted to show you what that looked like before it was cut, because it kind of looks like a blob, but I wanted to teach you what the bleed meant. Okay. So, to do the stencil, we're going to use this one. So I use Oracal 631. Oh, thanks, Jenny. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope so. Like, this is really, listen, as I'm doing this, I'll tell you, but first, so I'm going to just weed out what we call weeding. It's called like taking out the negative space. When you're doing a stencil, you want to take out the inside, so you want to take out whatever you're going to actually stencil onto the thing. So I'll talk while I'm doing that. I was a DIY bride myself not that long ago, and I don't know, I just want to be here and be like a resource for people who are going through this and who are trying to, I hope you can hear me over that Cricut. We'll see. Yeah, no, I just know what it's like to be a DIY bride. I know that it's a lot, and as a creative, especially, we want to do all the things, right? Like we just like are never satisfied ever. So I just would love to be a resource for anybody going through that and wanting to make things, and like being able to find all of the tips and all the things that I've learned in one spot. So that's still a Cricut, sorry. Oh good, you can hear me, thank you. Okay, so just taking this stuff to make a stencil. Oops. So you want to make sure that you leave this stuff in there, like see if you could just see that that little part of the D came out. You want that in there. So this vinyl was a little funky right there. I don't know why, but uh-oh. Leave that there. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So I always have a garbage can near me. I have like a garbage can that stays right in my little craft space. So because you're always like having little pieces of garbage all over. So little tip. Okay, so there's our stencil. And again, if you don't want this to say gifts and cards, but you want it to say something else, then, you know, you can do anything. That's the beauty of the Cricut. You can cut out whatever your heart desires. Okay, so now I'm going to take my transfer tape. I use this, it's a whole roll. It just comes on the roll and then it like peels like that. I get this from Happy Crafters. This is the 6-inch roll. By the way, like I mentioned in the posts about this, all of the links and all of the materials that I use are in a PDF on my website. So if you just go to the lalalandshop.com/DIY, you can find all of the things right there. Okay, so of course I don't have my little thing there. So just taking the transfer tape, putting it over this. If you don't cover the whole thing, it's okay, because you don't really need to. You'll see. So then I'm just kind of smoothing it on so I can get the whole thing. You don't really have to worry too much about air bubbles here. Air bubbles are more important when you're actually putting the vinyl on what you're putting it on. Another tip when you're cutting out the vinyl stencil, make sure you leave like some space, because I always forget to do that, and then as I'm stenciling I'm like, oh my goodness, I leave not enough space here, and then because I'm ridiculous when it comes to my vinyl. I have like a whole bin of vinyl scraps because I don't like to waste. I don't like to waste in general. If you know me, you definitely know that's true, but I don't like to waste my vinyl. Even these little pieces I like to keep, because you never know when you're gonna need like another little piece or something. So okay, so make sure you leave a little space here though, because when you are stenciling, you're gonna have to paint over this, and you don't want to paint onto the thing around it and then have like a weird line where you don't want it. So I'm gonna actually show you a trick. If I can find my X-Acto knife. Okay. A trick I like to use when the piece, like the vinyl or whatever you're doing, is bigger. So I'm going to cut the back a little bit. I'm going to try and go like around here. I did this yesterday. Let's see if it works. Actually, I'm going to go this way. You can kind of see, if you hold it up to the light, you can kind of see. So I'm going to just cut, not all the way through, but what I'm doing is just trying to cut the backing a little bit. And then I'll show you why in a second. It just makes it so much easier to put on. Okay. So that's that. So now I want to kind of center it, see where I want it. Keep in mind that this is going to be nothing, so it kind of throws your eye off a little bit, but you know, throw it where you think is good. And then I'm going to kind of put that transfer tape like that so it sticks, so it stays where I want it. And then come down here and kind of fold it over. And now here you want to make sure that those little pieces that wasn't sticking before stick to the transfer tape too, because you need those. I'm going to peel that like that. and then take this from the top here so that I avoid air bubbles. And then this avoids you doing it in one big huge sticker, because sometimes when it's big it kind of goes all over the place and then you don't have good stability, good control over it. So, and then I'm just going to take the top here. And it's okay if you peel a little bit of that off and then stick it back on, it's totally fine. So I was saying before, this is Oracal 631. There's two different kinds. There's 631 and 651. The 631 I use for stenciling because it's not permanent, but the other sign that I'll do with the actual vinyl, I will do with the 651. And I did not include links for those on the PDF. I just listed what they were because you can find those pretty much anywhere. Michael's used to sell them. I don't remember if they don't anymore. Oh, they do. They sell this only the 651. But there's multiple sites that you can find Oracal on, so you can just Google it and find a good site. If you really are struggling with that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I used to buy it on Happy Crafters too, but it's all on clearance, so I'm assuming that they're not selling it anymore. That's my assumption. Oh, Jenny wants to know where everyone's from. Oh, that's a good question. I like that. Where is everyone from? We have a good crowd on here. And is it cold where you are? Okay, so now I'm just peeling this off. I try to stay close to here because the less pressure, then the less likely that it will peel one of those little pieces off. If it does, you can pretty much just maneuver it back to where it should go, but it's just easier if it all stays on where it's supposed to. And you can reuse this transfer tape. So, like I can reuse this piece. I'll try and reuse it for the other piece that we're gonna do later. Okay, so now we have a stencil. Oh, other thing, here we go. If you notice, this rose is different than this rose, because when I went to try and find this rose for you guys, I of course could not. It was one of those, if you're familiar with Love SVG, it was one of those surprise downloads that they give you on in an email, and I had downloaded it and now you can't download it anymore. I looked all over last night, so I'm sorry. So I found a different one that we'll use today. Hopefully it goes as well as it did yesterday, but we'll do it together. And that one I did, there was a download for. So Love SVG is awesome. All their stuff is free unless you're going to use it for like commercial stuff, but if it's personal use, then it's free. So love that. You can download stuff, especially for your wedding and things. There's definitely some good stuff on there. So I'm taking the paint and kind of like not taking the whole big glob and sticking it on the thing, because I don't want it to get like underneath. I want the lines to be nice and crisp. So I'm kind of just taking the glob there and then coming back and forth. So it's going to take 2 coats, so don't worry too much about what the first coat looks like. This is chalk paint, so it's definitely super matte, and you can kind of really see like the lines. So the second time I go through, I will make the lines kind of consistent and make sure there's no spots where like my brush stopped, because I'm crazy like that. And see here, like you don't want to get over the thing. Although I did learn yesterday that the nice thing about the galvanized metal is you can scrape off any paint that you don't want. Although when you're going to peel this off later, that makes it a little difficult that way. So, okay, so that's that. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit and do a second coat, and then we'll do the rose on there after, because there's not much room on there to do the rose. So, what do you guys think so far? I'd love to know like your ideas, like what colors you would do. I'd love to know what your colors are. Any brides on here now, because I'm super curious like what the trends are now, what your colors are. I got married in the fall, so Actually, this is kind of close to my colors. Like I had this kind of peachy pink, and my girls wore biscotti from David's Bridal, which is like a tan color. I loved it. They were so pretty. Oh, hi Annie from Iowa. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Okay, so thank you for watching. So this is the other piece of vinyl. This is the actual vinyl that's going to go on here. This is Oracle 651. So I'm going to weed this. So this one, you're going to do just the opposite of what you did before. You want the actual words. So I'm going to just pull this off. And then take out the negative space that we don't want to. I was going to start to do this before I got on, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want you guys to see from the beginning, like step by step, exactly how to do, because who knows what kind of beginners we have here. So I definitely just got paint on this because I apparently have pink paint on my hands. Oh yes, story of my life. Hi Ashley from Wisconsin, thanks for watching. Plum, gray, and cream. Ooh, pretty. When is your wedding? Okay, sorry, can you see me? So see, this is, I'm having a little trouble here, like the Cricut, the blade didn't cut it super well, which is fine, as long as I don't totally rip it off. I will show you a little tidbit too in a second when I get my hands out of this. So see, that looks kind of like funky, so if you just kind of push it back, you're good. A tip too is to change your blade. Sometimes we forget that our blades have been in there for a long time. I have seen people use a piece, like a ball of foil, and stick the blade in there and kind of sharpen it like a knife. I've never really done that. I just buy the blades when they're buy one get one half, and then they're really reasonable. So okay, so now we're gonna take out the little spaces. I've learned that using an X-Acto knife for smaller stuff is much easier than a weeding tool. And by the way, this is the weeder that I love. This is the one that I used to use, but this with that little extra piece right there is so much easier. So if you don't have this one, I don't know if you can buy it by itself. I got it with like a kit of things, so it's so much worth it though. So worth it. Okay, but like the little stuff, love to use the X-Acto knife because you can kind of just stick it and then it'll, or not, and then it'll come out. If the other stuff, I don't know, I feel like it just goes all over the place. Like the X-Acto knife really grabs it, and then it doesn't stick to anything that you don't want it to, because we all know how fun that is. So I'd love to know if there's any Cricut users on, Cricut or Silhouette, anybody, any DIY brides on, and if you're having fun being a DIY bride. I know that, like I was saying before, it's super stressful for me, but I wouldn't have it any other way, that's for sure. Okay, oh, let's see. Hi Alexis from Pennsylvania. Real coral, oh, teal, see, teal, coral, and rose gold. Oh, I love it. I love the rose gold. It's so in. Hi Nadia. Yeah, I saw bands the other day of rose gold, and they're just so pretty. I love it. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to use this same piece of transfer tape. Move this out of the way a little bit. This piece of vinyl is super curly. It was like the end of the roll, so again, not worried too much about air bubbles here. So we're just going to scrape this on. This is a Cricut scraper. I've said before in my lives, you can use like if you have a Pampered Chef, one of those like brown squares that you clean the stones with, you can use something like that. Or there is a bigger one too. It's just in my drawer behind all that stuff right there, so I'm not gonna make a big mess getting to it, but yeah, you can use a credit card, just whatever you have that's like hard to peel this stuff off. Okay, so this is gonna peel off. Now again, you can cut the backing like I did before for the stencil and do it that way if you don't feel like you have a good enough control over this. Make sure this is the right way. That would be my luck. And because you know you don't want this to be like too curly and get stuck. If you feel that you need to do that, that's totally fine. So yeah, I'm gonna work from like the top down because this, you don't want the air bubbles this time. And then scrape it. Oh, I'm missing comments here. Sorry, guys. Ah, hi, Haley, DIY bride. Awesome. What have you done so far? When are you getting married? I've touched my Cricut twice, but I want to DIY most of my stuff. Totally. Actually, this is why I have my Cricut, is because of my wedding. I did just write a little blog post about this, but I always wanted a Cricut. Always thought it was so cool. Never really knew what it did, to be honest. But when I got engaged, I was like, okay, this is my excuse to spend the money on a Cricut and make my own invitations. So you can see I'm getting a little like it's sticking a little like it's not supposed to. It's sticking to the transfer tape. That's fine. Just scrape it down and keep going. And like I said before, you want to keep this here so that your fingers here are not pulling from like here, because the less pressure the better for the vinyl. So yeah, so I got the Cricut for my invitations, and then I ended up making everything. I mean, signs, and I made our what do you call those? Table seatings and favors. We did like a 2-in-1, so we had little honey jars, and then we did the oh, it said something cute. What did it say? Jenny, do you remember? Oh, it said something really cute. Oh, meant to be, but B-E-E. And then I'll show you, actually, I'll repost it because it's been a while since I posted it, but I made like little cute little hearts, and it said their name and what table they were at, and then my mom, thanks Mom, we tied little bows around the honey jars, and so anyway, I did everything. It was so crazy. It was definitely intense. I loved it, but it was definitely a lot. So like I was saying before, I would love to be here for you guys because I totally know what that's like. Oh, I should do one on invites, Jenny. That's a good idea. Definitely, because I learned the hard way when I first got it. I did invites through with the Cricut, but I had it use a marker, and oh my gosh, that took forever. Not realizing you could do the print and cut, which is so much easier. So yeah, that's a really good idea. And I'll show you my invitations too. Oh my goodness, they were crazy. The pocket, like the jacket that the invitation went in, each one of those took the Cricut 10 minutes to cut each one, and yeah, that was a lot. That was definitely a lot of time. And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, people are probably just throwing them away, not realizing. Not that I would expect them to keep it anyway, but okay. So this is the printable vinyl that we talked about before. So what I do is I took this one here, and I just took an X-Acto knife and went around it, and then this way I'm not cutting the whole paper up. This is cut, and I'll tell you why in a second, but this way I can still use this. I can still print it. So if I have something small that I need to do here, I can still stick this in my printer. So again, I totally don't like to waste things. So I just took my X-Acto knife and went around, and then now I'm gonna weed it. So yesterday when I was doing these, I was able to just peel this off and use this as the stencil. But I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that with this one, so that's why I cut the other one. I think I'm probably not even going to try. Yeah, no, because this one is totally different. The other rose was so much easier. And this one was giving me a hard time. Like, I think that my blade had some stuff in it. which is not fun. And actually that's what I wanted to show you guys too. When I'm done with this, I'll show you. Yeah, this is not going to be fun. But I'll show you troubleshooting while you're here. So it looks like the Cricut just didn't cut it all the way through, or just not nicely. So it's just going to be a little more work to get it out. But it's fine. At least it cut it all the way through, because I've had where it hasn't. If you've had that before, you know how annoying that is. Actually, I've wasted a whole sheet of HTV, which is the heat transfer vinyl, because I was making bride tribe bags and it didn't cut all the way through, and there's no way to send it through and again and have it cut the same exact spots. So huge waste of a whole sheet. Okay, I'm totally not looking at comments. I'm sorry. I will in a second if there are any new ones on there. I'm sorry. I just want to concentrate on this, and I hope you can see me good. Yeah, okay. So while I'm doing this, I'll tell you my funny story I was thinking about this before, of being a DIY bride. I literally was making things to the last second. I mean, and I even had like the week of, so actually I could probably use this for the stencil. So I'm going to leave this just kind of over here to the side so it doesn't get ruined. Let me just check. Loving this for kids' birthdays. Yeah, definitely. It doesn't have to be a wedding for this. Like, you have gifts and cards tables for any kind of special occasion, really, right? So, okay, so I'll go back to my story in a second. But so this is all cut out nice and pretty, and I'm going to take a little piece of this transfer tape. So you can't see me, I'm sorry. So this is that 6-inch roll I was talking about before. I'm just going to cut a little piece off like that. And stick it on top. Scrape it good. Peel it off. Oh, and this one I cut before too, because I had printed it and it went over this line, like the two black lines intercepted. I was like, well, let me cut it off and see if the Cricut will still recognize it. No, not a good idea. My Cricut was not happy with that. It actually like started making funky noises. I had to turn it off. So it got way confused that there were like too many black lines. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick this where I want it. Start on one side. And actually I will leave that on there for right now, because I'm gonna stick a second coat on this so that it dries, and I can show you the other stuff. So my story. Oh wait, I want to just check comments. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being rude. Hi, I'm getting married in October. I've made some bridesmaids gifts and I'm working on some stenciled signs today. Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's super cool, Haley. I made so much stuff for my bridesmaids and my bachelorette party. So much fun. I had so much fun with that. That's why I actually started selling the stuff afterwards, because I was like, this is so much fun, and I would love to be part of even the smallest part of somebody else's big day. It's just so cool to me. I'm seriously honored whenever somebody orders like bride tribe bags, or I do these like last name signs that people buy a lot for wedding gifts, and I love that. I genuinely love being like the smallest part of it. I think it's super cool. And I was an October bride too, so yay. We were October 15th. Okay, so my story, actually, that makes me go back to that. So we got married on a Sunday, and my family was all here by Friday, up from like South Carolina and places. So my neighbor graciously made us dinner. Very, very sweet of her on Friday, because she knew how crazy we'd be. So it was Friday night for dinner, and I was still working on things for the wedding. Like, not even just like random things. I was making the programs. I was printing and cutting them on my Cricut, and it was giving me a hard time. I don't know. I ran out of paper, all this stuff, right? And I was still working on them. I went to dinner, and then I had to leave dinner and come back here and work on those dang programs. And I just was like so frazzled and so... I mean, my mom was here. Thank God she was here for like the month before, and she helped me with all my little projects. But it was just such a crazy time. So here's my testament to say, start early. The earlier you start, the better, because it's gonna get crazy, and you're gonna want to do all the things. Like, you're gonna want to make every single little thing, and you're never gonna be satisfied. There's always something more that you're gonna want to make, and if the earlier you start, the more time you have to make what you want. Okay, so that's good. That is done. Now I'll let that dry. It should dry fairly fast. Like I said before, it's chalk paint. Chalk paint dries super fast. Love that. And I'll finish this one. So if you're just joining us, you'll see that this is a different rose than what was in the one that was before, because when I tried to find the file for everybody to download, it's not available anymore. So I wanted to use one that was available. So this is just a little different, and actually I think it's really pretty too. Also, when you're doing this is printable vinyl. When you're doing this, you can change the color, so you can do whatever colors you want. So if this isn't the right green or the right pink for you, or you want to do purple or white or whatever, whatever your printer can do, you can do. I printed this with my inkjet, so I'm assuming it should not get wet. Not that it's really going to, but just so you know, like, you don't want to accidentally get it wet somehow and then it runs, because that would be bad. If you have a laser printer, that would be better. I think that the Cricut Vinyl works for laser or inkjet. I didn't really even look. But there's a link for that too. You can buy that right at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I think I got that at Hobby Lobby, but I think I sent you all the links to Michael's. Okay, and that's that. I'm not missing any comments, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna just stick this over here too, because I'll use this for the stencil. So that's that one. Pretty, right? Can you see it good? Yeah. Love this galvanized metal. I think it's super different, right? If you have like a silver theme. And again, like, if you don't want this, then, you know, you cut whatever you want, like if you're gonna make a welcome sign or whatever. I did include the kite font. I'm sorry, this is called Kite Script. I did include the font link for purchase. I included the purchase one because you can do the demo, but then the demo doesn't come with all the fancy stuff, and it doesn't come with this. Like, this "and" here is something something unique that only comes with the purchased font. So, oh, thank you, Nadia. Oh, sorry, I missed the beginning. Did you use transfer tape to get the stencil? Yes, and I'll show you, because I'm actually gonna do the rose on this one still, so you'll get to witness how that's done. So it's still a little wet, you can kind of see. So let me show you what I was talking about before. So if you have a Cricut, this is your blade. You know, you just pop it out, this comes out. If you look at it, if you kind of push it out, and sometimes stuff gets stuck in there. Like, I was trying to cut this one, because this is actually the rose that I used on my wedding invitations. I was trying to cut this, but there's way too much cut in there, so it just was taking forever, and it just wasn't cutting nicely. So when it was doing this, these little pieces got stuck in my blade, and then when you go to cut something the second time, there's like little stuff in there, and then so you just push it out and then carefully peel it off, and then you're fine. So if your blade's not like cutting nicely, make sure you check that out. And then, like I said before, you could probably need a new blade. Okay, so I'm just gonna peel this up a little bit so that I've got some space here to show you how to do the rose. You can see me, right? Okay. So just because it's not totally dry, so we'll do that. Now I'm gonna take this, and normally, like, if this is just kind of unique that it all stays together like that. If you like the other one, this stencil, there's little pieces in here, like the in between the D and, I don't know, can you see that? Like that little piece in the S, right? Like that's not connected, so you're gonna have to use the transfer tape for that. I don't actually kind of can't use the transfer tape on this because there's nothing, like it's not stuck to anything. So I'm sorry, I lied. You'll have to just watch the replay. I'm sorry. So so this we're gonna see if this works actually, because it is a little detailed, but. So I'm going to gently put that on there. It's so much easier with the transfer tape, but because I'm using what I peeled off of this one, being kind of thrifty, it makes it a little more difficult. So if you are more of a beginner, I would definitely recommend just cutting another one, weeding the inside of the what you don't want. So weeding like the inside here and everything, and then using the transfer tape to put it on, just like we did up here. So again, just kind of pushing it out so that there's no air bubbles or gaps, because that's when you get like the lines from stenciling that you don't want. So if you're just joining me, I did mention before, you can get all the materials from this on my website. If you go to the La La Land shop, shoppe.com, and /DIY, so the lalalandshop.com/DIY. That's interesting. I don't know how that got backwards. Oh, I see. Then you can get the list of materials right here. So this whole list of materials is all there for you. I have mostly links to everything, so I think I remembered everything that I'm using, all the paint colors and everything. Okay, so I'm just using my finger here because I don't want this to like scrape up a little piece or something. So just trying to get, like, can you see, like trying to get that air bubble out so that that line is nice and crisp. This one might be like, there's a few little spots that aren't super flush, but that's okay. Okay, so now I used, for the first one that we did, that I did before, for this one, I used this chalk paint. Obviously it's used, the bottle's like super messy, but Flamingo Pink. This is from Michaels. Love this. If you look at my Etsy shop, I made a few like frames like this. Oh, actually it's right here. This is that Flamingo Pink in a frame. Love it. It's so cool. So springy. So that I used for the flower. And then just using this super matte sheepskin colored chalk paint for, that's this, the main part there. And then this was like the only green I had, Apple Tart, which is like, woo, super bright for what I was doing. So I just mixed it with a little bit of that white paint. These brushes, love these. They're like foam brushes, but skinnier ones. I also included that in the link. So it's just a pack of, it came in a pack like this from Michaels. Okay, so now I'm just gonna paint. Just be careful that you don't get the green where the pink is supposed to be. And just paint here. And you could even do, like, if you really want to be artsy, you could totally do different colored green for each leaf. You could even use a paintbrush here if you wanted to be a little more detailed, and, you know, and be a little more strict about where you're getting the paint. But yeah, you could totally like add shading and stuff if you really wanted to, really had that artistic ability. So any other DIY brides on? I'd love to know where you guys are from and when your wedding is. I was saying before, I was an October bride. Can't believe that it was like a year and a half ago already. I feel like it never is gonna come, and then it flies by. Okay, that's that. And then now I'll use my pink, which this pink has seen better days. I might have to open the actual bottle. Ooh, I love that pink. Isn't that so cool? Look at that color. So cool. And again, like I said, you can do whatever color here, really. Like before, we were talking about, what was it? Teal, coral, and rose gold. Ooh, you could do like this rose gold and make the colors of the flower your other colors. And then you could also do more corresponding signs that match this, like a welcome sign, whatever else you're doing. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry a little bit, then give it a second coat. Actually, that green kind of looks good. It might not need a second coat. And honestly, you could even leave that, like if you like it kind of a little see-through. Like I was even thinking before with this, you could have done one coat, depending on your preference there. But so now, once this is dry, I have seen people do this and then peel it up when it's wet. I don't recommend that. It's not the way I do it because I feel like it's messy. Sorry. I feel like it's messy, and then I also feel like you can mess it up easier because your hand is here and everything, so I just wait for it to dry. Although sometimes I'm impatient and want to not wait. It's definitely the fun reveal. So you're gonna just kind of try and peel it off in one big piece if you can, but we're gonna have to peel all those little things off anyway. So if it rips or something, that's totally fine. See, like right there. Love the way this paint looks on this metal. Can you see that? Super cool, right? So this is definitely the fun part, when it starts to look like something. Anybody have any fun plans this weekend? I think it's supposed to be warm. I'm in New York, and it's supposed to be like semi-warm tomorrow, but rainy, but that's okay. I'll take the warm weather. I'm definitely ready for it. More than I usually am. Okay. And then just take this glob and throw it away. So then you'll just take your finger, or you can use like the X-Acto knife, and carefully grab all these little pieces. Like I mentioned before, the beauty of the galvanized metal is that you can scrape off if it messes up, but then also it's easy to scrape where you don't want to, so you have to be kind of careful. So can you see that good how I'm doing that? I could probably bring it a little closer. So any other ideas for like more tutorials? I'd love to know like what you guys are doing that maybe you're having trouble with, especially like DIY brides. Any like techniques or anything? I did do an etching live a couple of weeks ago. So if you haven't etched glass before, so much fun, so cool, so easy. Kind of the same concept of making a stencil. And it's just etch cream that you can buy right at Michael's or any craft store, Amazon, whatever. So if you haven't watched that, go back and check that out. And then let me know what else, like what other techniques you're doing that you're having trouble with. I'm going to share those pictures I was talking about before of my wedding stuff that I did. And I think I'm definitely going to do one on print and cut because I learned that one the hard way for sure. Okay, I think that's it. Yep, that's it. So it looks good, right? We're getting there. So now I'm just going to give this rose one more coat. Yeah, this paint is definitely seen better days. I must have had this one for a while. So like I said, you can totally just use a paintbrush or something too. I'm just using these foam brushes. These are like the skinny ones. They're skinnier than the normal ones, so a little more control. So if you know a DIY bride or know maybe a mom who's helping make stuff for somebody's wedding, please feel free to share this. If you're watching the replay, please feel free to share this. If you don't want to make your stuff and you want to just buy it, please feel free to check out my Etsy store. I've got some stuff on there, trying to always add more. And I'll say it again if you missed it. The materials list for this is on my website, thelalalandshop.com/DIY, or you can just go to thelalalandshop.com and then find the DIY page, and the material list is there. Alright, I love this color green that came out. It's pretty. Super nice for a spring. I feel like if this was going to be a white, I'm sorry, I was reading your comment. If this was a fall wedding, you could do like more fall colors. This is the white one. So just chalk paint, sheepskin. It's like ultra matte, yeah, ultra matte acrylic paint. Yeah, so download the materials list, and the link to get that at Michael's is right there. So all that stuff is available in the store. Everything I got here, I got in the store. So, you know, sometimes things aren't available in the store, just online, but all this was right in my store here in New York. So, okay, so we'll just wait for that to dry real quick. We'll go back to this one. So this was the vinyl one. So this was the one I showed. This was the one we just did. Cool, right? Again, this is printable vinyl, so you can print this whatever color you want. If you have like a theme and you have a color that you're using, then and you're making your invitations, or like say this is part of like a package that you bought, like your invitations include a rose like this or something, then you can kind of coordinate, because I love that. That's that. And I'll just wait a few seconds and then peel that rose off so that you can see what the final looks like. Any other questions while we're on here? I'd love to help. Thanks so much for watching, guys. So totally appreciate it. This is so much fun. And let me know any other like DIY things you want to see. Alright, so I'm going to peel this off even though it's a little wet, just because I want you to see and I don't want you to have to stay on here forever. It is Saturday. I'm sure you have lots to do. This is my favorite part, the reveal. think I got it all, actually. Without making a huge mess. Yeah, looks like it. Okay. And that is that. So you can see like the chalk paint kind of makes like your paintbrush strokes are there, which is cool. So you could actually do that and add a little like texture to that. And then that is painted on there too. All right, so that's that. These are all the gifts and card signs. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will be back with more fun DIY bride stuff or just DIY stuff, really for any special event or whatever. So make sure you like this, share it, and I will see you next time. Have a great weekend. Thanks, guys.